Street Outlaws. No Prep Kings is made up of competitions that are designed to push racers to their limits, exposing them to unexpected conditions and leaving them to come up with the best tactics to defeat their opponents. Most often, the result on the tracks is life-threatening, but at least every racer come prepared to face their fate. But what happens when one is pushed to the limits, both on and off the tracks? This is the story of Mike Murillo from Street Outlaws. Join us as we explore his life and the challenges that he has had to face over the years. Mike Murillo initially didn't seem like one who would be interested in car racing, given that he made a late entrance into the sport, unlike many others who started from their teenage years. And in case you think the name is familiar outside the tracks, you won't be wrong, because his father is Mike Murillo, who was a semi-professional footballer. With that said, Mike Murillo Jr.'s early life was all about football. Everyone in the family expected him to take after his father. Up to the age of 17, he was still caught on that path. He played alongside his friends and was truly going for life on the pitch. The turnaround came later, when he was about 17 and moved to Texas, on a mission to advance his career in the pitch. But as fate would have it, he was unable to fit in with the new playing style he was exposed to in Texas. The situation became so overwhelming for him and was all he needed to decide his future. Uncertain of what the future would be like outside the pitch, he informed his then coach that he was quitting football. In a bid to stop him, the coach had urged him to move on, saying that he might continue to quit in other endeavors if he left then. But Mike's path was set. He left the team and floated around for 2 years. From here, he started to hone his interest in cars, with little knowledge that this would be the turn that he most desperately needed in his life. So, this was the beginning of the legend of Mike Murillo. Early career and growth. At about the age of 21, his transition into racing started to gather steam, but he didn't quite know much about racing then. The car that he entered into racing with was a sign that he was just a novice in the area, having no prior background. He started street racing in a 1977 Trans Am. Then, the major deciding factor for the car was that he saw it in the 1977 movie Smokey and the Bandit and liked it. There was zero consideration for performance. He soon came to realize his mistake when he started racing with the car and took quite several losses from his opponents, who mostly raced in a Mustang. This is where Mike decided, if you can't beat him, join him. It wasn't until Mike met Richard Flores, who showed him the ropes in picking out the best cars for the tracks, that he started making some progress. So, in 1991, after he started working in a garage alongside Jeff, he was able to get his Mustang. Things seemed to be working out quite all right for the young lad, and he was oblivious to the challenges that he was going to face later in his career in street racing, which was both a result of the risks involved in street racing and the uncertainties that await most people in life. Both Jeff and Mike started the garage, Texas Jam, from Jeff's mother's house, but later moved to Mike's garage. With racing being an expensive venture, having the garage enabled Mike to stay true to building his career on the tracks. It was during his time working on cars that he first came in contact with Big Chief from Street Outlaws, who brought him on for his skills in tuning cars. And from there, he paved his way into life on the TV series that will place him in the spotlight. But before settling with Street Outlaws, Mike built his career with some other racing platforms and even participated in some other TV series, like the May TV show House of Grudge. According to Mike in an interview, he started his racing career in Alamo Dragway, but was unaware of what he was missing until he came to see a fun Ford racing event in Dallas. There, he fell in love with the tracks and quickly started to look for a means to enter the competition. At this point, he was no longer the boy in a Trans Am. He was now much more, born out of the need and desire to prove his former football coach wrong. In 1994, Mike successfully entered a fun Ford weekend event in Houston and became a force to reckon with on the tracks. Over the years in the competition, Mike had clinched the Fun Ford Weekend Street Outlaw Championship 3 years in a row, from 1994-1996. And it just didn't end there. He also went on to win the championship in 1998 and 1999. This was just the first in his many exploits across different competitions. We have curated some of his exploits over the years, up to the time he joined Street Outlaws in 2013. He had the Clash of the Titans Outlaw 10.5 Championship from 1998, 2002, the NMRA Super Street Outlaw Championship in 2002, the NMRA Pro Outlaw 10.5 in 2011 and 2012, and the NMCA Super Street 10.5 in 2011 and 2012. It was obvious that Mike already made a name for himself in the racing industry against all odds, quickly moving from someone with no background in the sport to a major player in the field. Not just that, he was able to keep up these appearances and dedication to the game with an accompanying big heart and amazing personality. This has earned him a place with fans of Street Outlaws. This growing love that he has found among fans had turned to concern at different points when the racer faced situations that were enough to make anyone despondent. Amid these concerns from friends and fans alike, Mike has managed to remain steadfast, poised to make even more impressive appearances. Even after the racer was already on the verge of taking a back seat from racing in 2012, considering that he had other engagements like his business and family to focus on, the call to join the Street Outlaws when it premiered the following year was irresistible. The call came after a private car test session for Todd Moyer at the Houston Motorsports Park in 2013. Just like the name, Street Outlaws. No Prep Kings came with a lot of uncertainties. The peculiarities of the race were nothing similar to what Mike had been previously exposed to. But the fact that it was still in the same category of street racing while posing new challenges was all Mike needed to make his decision. He started making the necessary modifications that would help his car adapt to the unknown tracks of the tracks, willing to take on the challenge and be successful while at it. And while Mike had very defined goals joining the show, what awaited him on the tracks was much more. Over the years, street racing has been illegal in many states, owing to the dangers that it poses to both racers and everyone else. But Street Outlaws has been able to make it a lot safer sport than it used to be. The races are scheduled on roads that are closed off for the duration of the race, a step to protect other road users from whatever might happen. The racers, on the other hand, are expected to stick to certain modifications to their vehicles, which will protect them in the event of a mishap. But things still get pretty bad on set at intervals. The first accident that threatened Murillo's life on the show came in 2015. At the 2015 No Prep Super Bowl Border Wars race, fans were struck with fear as they all watched as Mike's car spun out of control, hitting the guardrail and going on an uncontrolled spin. Luckily for Mike, he made it out of the car alive and with minimal injuries. One would think at this point that this would be all he needed to call it a quit on his racing career, having witnessed firsthand the risks involved. But it seemed Mike wasn't going to give in and become a quitter at this point. He came out more determined than ever to continue racing. All seemed good till September of 2022. Mike came closer to death than he had ever been before. During a race where he was scheduled to race Ryan Martin, he got caught in another crazy incident that will live fresh in the minds of everyone following the show. It was round 2 of the Invitational at the Summit Motorsport Park in Norwalk, Ohio, when something went wrong midway into the race and Mike's car burst into flames. Luckily for Mike, the people around were able to pull him out of the inferno before the car that he was in got totaled. When the image of the car was shown after the accident, the car was totally burnt, and what remained was just a huge chunk of black metal. Mike described this as a nightmare and was just glad that he was able to make it out of the crash alive. Despite the challenges, Mike has continued to remain steadfast, and has bounced back from the mishap. He was discharged from the hospital after he was found to be without any serious injury. However, Mike's experience on the show hasn't been totally bad. For starters, it was Street Outlaws that gave Mike the fame that he has today. His amazing personality and large heart has been a major influence on fans. And that's not to underplay his skill in the sport. Mike is known for giving his all to win races, and the effort has paid off over the years. Since joining the show, he has won several competitions, while racing against some of the best in the game. His experience racing in other competitions came in handy. During the Dirty South No Prep Series Big Tire in 2018, Mike managed to come out on top with his fierce racing style, and this was just one out of other competitions that he has won on the show. In 2018 also, he pulled to the top on the No Prep Kings Series Invitational Big Tire. These are to mention but a few. Overall, Mike boasts of about 90 wins, all across competitions, and might not be ready to stop anytime soon. Joining Street Outlaws also helped Mike build some really good relationships. For instance, it was while on the show that he got to meet the likes of Scott Taylor, with whom he developed a strong sense of friendship and drive to make an impact. However, this wasn't their first meeting, as Scott was also a headliner guest in House of Grudge. Unlike organized drag racing with strict regulations, grudge races are all about settling scores and pushing the limits. There are often minimal rules, leaving most things up to the negotiation between the two drivers. When you know the details about House of Grudge, then you will get to know why Mike adapted easily to the situation he met Street Outlaws. The race comes with as much uncertainty as Street Outlaws and racers stand the chance of even losing their car in the process. Since the race is used to settle scores, the racers are allowed to make their specifications for the race. The standard quarter-mile drag race distance might be used, but some grudges might be settled over shorter or even longer stretches. Also, there might be restrictions on car types depending on the track or agreement, but grudge races can involve anything from souped-up muscle cars to heavily modified imports. Bragging rights are a big part of grudge racing, but sometimes the winner gets to decide the loser's fate. This could involve things like removing a car part or even keeping the loser's car. But just like in most races with similar rules, there is always room for certain compromises that won't leave the racers in too bad a position. The intensity of the competition is, however, not to be underestimated. Grudge races are often personal. There can be a lot of pre-race trash talk and boasting. However, both drivers also put a lot of effort into getting their cars ready. There's a focus on peak performance and sometimes underhanded tactics to gain an edge. This was what Mike was part of, which helped build him for all other challenges that he faced later in life. And it turned out that Mike's challenges and accidents weren't the worst of the things that befell the racer in life. Things got more complicated along the line. As for grudge races, with the freedom and high stakes involved, grudge races are known for intense competition. Reaction times are crucial, and races can come down to hundredths of a second. There's a raw energy and excitement that organized racing might lack. It's important to note that due to the lack of regulations, safety can be a concern in grudge racing, especially on public streets. Reputable grudge races usually take place at sanctioned tracks with safety measures in place. Not minding the difficulty that Mike faced in these races, he always emerged victorious in most of them. And this has been the habit that has seen Mike to the top over the years. After the crash he had in 2015, it seemed Mike was about to give up because he was on a losing streak for 2 years. But things changed when he got his hands on the Lafondue, which is a name he called his new car. Lafondue is a legendary twin-turbo Mustang piloted by drag racer Mike Murillo. Under him, the car became a force to be reckoned with on the drag strip. The specifications on the car are insane, with the engine packing a whopping 3,200 horsepower. With this, Lafondue blows past most competitors on shows like Street Outlaws. This immense power necessitates special modifications to ensure control. Witnessing Lafondue take on a race is a testament to both Murillo's driving skill and the engineering marvel that is this Mustang. Lafondue isn't just about brute strength. It boasts an impressive racing history, having secured a staggering 14 NMRA and NMCA championships. These accolades solidify Lafondue's position as a dominant player in the drag racing world. The car isn't just fast, it's incredibly fast. The car has clocked speeds exceeding 230 pro in the quarter mile, a remarkable feat that showcases the perfect marriage of power and engineering. At these speeds, shaving off even 1/100th of a second becomes a monumental challenge, making Lafondue's achievements even more impressive. Over the years, Mike has brought in some impressive modifications to make the car even more efficient. Murillo and his team are constantly innovating and upgrading the car. This dedication to improvement is evident in Lafondue's continually shrinking quarter-mile times, with a personal best of 6.31 seconds, a blistering pace that puts Lafondue in the top tier of drag racing. Lafondue's combination of power, racing heritage, record-breaking performance, and constant refinement make it a true legend in the drag racing world. It's a car that strikes fear in competitors and leaves audiences in awe. Now that we have gotten a grip on what Mike's early life was like and his transition into racing, it will be important to note that Mike has had and is still having some big issues outside the tracks. It's a surprise that he just keeps going. Family and personal life. Back in 2003, Mike lost his first wife to cancer, and that loss took a toll on him. But his love for street racing helped him to remain strong and pass through that ordeal. For anyone, this would have been enough to pull one down, but Mike wasn't that person. He later got remarried and currently has 3 children from his wife Lisa. Among them are 2 daughters, Criziana and Murillo, and a son named Kai. Not so much is known about his family, as they keep most things off the internet. This a common trait that you would find among the known racers and street outlaws, as they strive not to get their loved ones roped into the ups and downs that come with fame. The latest tragedy that Mike is facing at the moment is his battle against stage 4 lung cancer, which he got to know of in 2022. However, he announced the state of his health in 2023, leaving his fans sad at what has befallen their favorite. Mike had battled COVID-19 back in 2020 and still didn't feel too well even after he was treated. He didn't go back for further treatment immediately, and things already were bad when he finally went back, only to discover that he had an enlarged heart and growths on his lymph nodes and spine. To crown it all, Mike lost his father last year amid the health battles. In all these, it's a relief that he hasn't been alone, as his family has been on his side all along. No one is sure about what his life is like at the moment, but we all hope that he can emerge from these unfortunate events. Despite his future in racing being bleak, we look forward to seeing more of Mike in the coming days, hoping that his health gets a lot better. And that's it for the tragic life of Mike Murillo from Street Outlaws. We will keep you updated with new developments, and that will be all for this episode. Let us know your thoughts in the comments, and we will see you next time.